Today we're going to talk about how Big Pharma has erased natural medicine. And this is a fascinating topic because everything I'm going to talk about today is based on this one book right here that was written in 1926. This book is called United States Dispensatory by Wood and Lawall. This is the 21st version. It has over 2,400 pages. This is the pharmacy's Bible. This was the most authoritative and comprehensive reference for American medicine back in 1926. 75% of all the remedies back then were natural, based on herbs, plants, animal extracts, minerals. Only 25% of medicine back in 1926 was made from petroleum synthetic drugs. And I'm going to share with you 20 of these remedies that are going to blow you away because these are things that I've recommended on a regular basis, but that was actually mainstream medicine back in 1926. And so since that time, there's been this gradual transition from natural to synthetic drugs. Because in the 22nd version, which is in 1943, that ratio of natural versus synthetic changed. Only 50% of all the remedies were natural, and other half was synthetic. And then we get to 1955 in the 25th edition of this book, and now we have only 25% of the solutions being natural, and then the other 75% being synthetic drugs from petroleum. Now, I'm not going to get into too much of the motive, Big Pharma becoming greedy, and how the Rockefellers and the Carnegie family worked together to create this Flexner report, which then infiltrated all the medical schools and then made this transition to upgrading medicine to a whole new field, which is pharmacology. So I don't want to get into that, but I think what I will say is history tends to repeat itself with so many different things. Starts off good, and then slowly it becomes infiltrated by something else. We went from hundreds of diagnoses to now we have thousands of diagnoses and thousands of treatments and all these different specialties, and they're all siloed, right? You go to a GI doctor for your digestive problem, and they do a test, and they find you have an ulcer. They give you a diagnosis. They give you a treatment. Go to the pharmacy, get your prescription, and then you're rechecked over time. By the way, there's a huge difference between natural remedies and drugs, obviously, because drugs really are powerful, but they only inhibit one thing, like one enzyme, whereas natural things do a lot more. They're not as powerful, but they do multiple things. We have this thing called the advancement of medicine, and sometimes people think about this advancement as more wise. But is it really more wise? We kind of invalidate the wisdom of the past. And like, that's old stuff. Science is where it's at right now, because now we have more science, we have more medical advancements, and all that old stuff is like folklore, snake oil, quackery. Yet at the same time, a lot of drugs are derived or modeled from these natural remedies. Are we really going in the direction of more wisdom, or are we going away from more wisdom when you have these natural remedies that have been around for hundreds or thousands of years that have stood the test of time? I always hear the argument of, well, there's no research in that natural remedy. Well, if there's no money in it, who's going to fund the research? 80% of all research is from Big Pharma. They create something called iatrogenic diseases, which are basically side effects from medication or medical procedures. In some cases, there's something called polypharmacy, where you have, especially people in nursing homes or assisted living, they're on like 10 or 20 or 30 or 40 different medications, right? And one of the biggest problems that I have is the omission of lifestyle changes. They're not looking at your food. They're not looking at your sleep. They're not looking at your stress level. They're not looking at your microbiome. They're not looking at the frequency of eating and the snacking and all these other things that are more going to affect the root cause of that problem. Instead, they look at the later dysfunction that occurs over time. And so then they treat that. They might do screenings every year, and then as soon as they pick up this dysfunction, and now they start treating it. So there's not a lot of prevention in healthcare, unfortunately. Now, full disclosure, I do sell supplements, and so I've been attacked in the past where people will say, oh yeah, Dr. Berg, you're just trying to make a lot of money. You're selling a lot of supplements, and that's why you're doing this. And my reply is, did you realize most of the supplement industry is controlled by big pharma? They own vitamin companies and also big food, the junk food industry, as well as the chemical companies. From my viewpoint, I think the quality is not that great. If you take a look at the #1 selling supplement in the world, it's owned by big pharma. It's a one a day. The first ingredient is calcium carbonate. That's limestone. And you have to realize that the first ingredient is usually the majority of the product. And even when you pick up the bottle, it's like heavy because of the amount of calcium carbonate. And it's filled with synthetics and fillers like maltodextrin and food coloring and flavorings. And so at the very least, I really give a crap about the ingredients in the supplements that I have. And I make sure there's no maltodextrin. I really put a lot of attention in making sure those ingredients are quality. The other thing that I hear a lot is supplements are not regulated by the FDA like drugs are. Well, that is because supplements and vitamins are not drugs. And this is really not a good comparison, because if you're trying to equate drugs with natural things, they're not at the same category. That's like saying the farmer's market is the same as a pharmacy. It's not. It's very, very different. The side effects from drugs are way, way more than the side effects from vitamins and minerals and supplements. All right, so that's my introduction to this book. Now let's talk about the remedies that they used back in 1926. This is going to blow you away. Check this out. Cod liver oil was a common remedy with medical doctors back then. And they used cod liver oil to inhibit TB. So if you had a tuberculosis infection, one of the things they would use is cod liver oil. Cod liver oil was also used for rheumatoid arthritis. And now we know why, because of the high levels of omega-3 fatty acids, specifically EPA, which is a natural anti-inflammatory. They also use cod liver oil with calcium salts to help get rid of tetany, which is like this little twitch that you might have in different places in your body. And they use it for nerve pain, probably because of the anti-inflammatory effect. Let's talk about #2, nutmeg oil. This was used for certain psychotic problems. It was actually a narcotic until it was replaced with actual synthetic narcotics. #3, olive oil was used as a mild laxative for people with constipation. They also use olive oil for gallstones. Now, on one hand, that was pretty smart, because when you consume fat, you're going to create an increase in bile, and bile is going to help dissolve a stone. But the only thing you have to be careful about, if there is already an existing big stone that's obstructing the passage of bile as it goes through, then releasing more bile could create a back pressure. #4, pine needle oil. That was used as a way to get rid of mucus from the lung. They would put a couple drops in boiling water and then breathe in the vapors to help with chronic bronchitis. #5, castor oil. I mean, this is a remedy that I recommend on a regular basis. They use castor oil as a mild laxative because it increases the pumping action of the colon, that's called peristalsis. And they also use it topically for dermatitis or skin problems. #6, sandalwood oil. This was used for gonorrhea, for bronchitis, bladder infections, because apparently it actually decreases E. coli and salmonella in the bladder. #7, sassafras oil. This is the stuff they make root beer from. But as a root, it's a very good antiseptic, especially for root canals. So apparently it's an antibacterial. #8, betaine hydrochloride. I was surprised to see this in there, but I wasn't really surprised because I knew this was a remedy that was used long ago. I recommend it for anything related to bloating, indigestion, acid reflux, heartburn, because it acidifies the stomach. It's a precursor for hydrochloric acid, and it also can help kill off microbes. But they used it back in the 20s as a way to help with indigestion and gastric problems. And then #9, pepsin. This is an enzyme, and they use that for digestive issues. And just as a side note, this enzyme won't work unless your stomach is really acidic, because enzymes are dependent a lot of times on the pH. Certain enzymes get turned on when it's more alkaline, and this one gets turned on when your stomach is majorly acidic to help you break down protein. #10, Lugol's iodine. I think they still use this in medicine for certain things to prepare for surgery. But back in the day, they used this for other conditions as well. Hyperthyroid conditions, as well as to protect the thyroid against radiation, because if you've been exposed to radiation, you want to take iodine to prevent the radiation from destroying the thyroid. Number 11, magnesium sulfate. This is Epsom salts. I mean, it's just wild that this was medicine back in the 20s. This was used to relax people, help them sleep, help with anxiety. It was used as a painkiller. It was also used for depression. And the thing I like about a lot of these remedies is they had very little side effects. Of course, this has been replaced by all sorts of medications. And then we get number 12, calcium chloride. This is something to help acidify the body. If the body is too alkaline, the person may have a tendency to get itching, or they might get allergies, or asthma might be triggered. So this is a good way to acidify the body to reduce those symptoms until you can really correct the cause of the body being too alkaline. And just as a side note, I typically recommend magnesium for those conditions. But when you put calcium in an acidic condition, sometimes calcium can also cause the relaxation of the muscle spasm. All right, number 13, liver extract for anemia, because it's so high in iron and B12, and it has the other cofactors all in one package. I mean, look what they have now. They have synthetic B12. They have types of iron that they give you that is just like not bioavailable. But when we're talking about anemia and liver extract, we're talking about heme iron and also a much better form of B12 that can actually address anemia. And then number 14, methylene blue, a lot. This was one of the first medications they came up with that was synthetic. And this is a synthetic dye, but it's very different than how they make dyes nowadays. So it's a completely different structure, and there's a tremendous amount of research on this. And they used it back then to shrink tumors. They used it for meningitis. They used it for bladder infection. They used it for gonorrhea. And apparently now it's kind of coming back, and a lot of people are using it. Methylene blue tends to help the mitochondria. So if there's mitochondrial damage, which is behind a lot of chronic illness, methylene blue can go in there and help to make it work a little bit more efficiently. Number 15, lithium carbonate. Now, this has been used for a long time. They still use it for bipolar, but back in the day, they had lithium springs. People would go there, just bathe in this water that had lithium in it, and they would feel more relaxed. And they even made a lithium water drink, and it was called lithiated lemon lime soda. And they had different rhymes about it. Take the ouch out of the grouch, because apparently when you have lithium in low dosages, it can actually help anxiety and depression. But in 1948, they banned lithium from these drinks, and so they took it out of this drink, and so they changed the name to 7-Up. The soda 7-Up used to have lithium in it. As far as the name 7 goes, there's speculation on where that came from. Some people say it was because on the periodic table, lithium had a weight of 7. Other people said it was because of the number of ingredients in that soda. But there's a lot of people now taking lithium orotate, which is in much smaller dosages than the lithium carbonate that they use in the medical profession, which is like 100 times more. So people take lithium to improve their mood. Number 16, Glauber's salt. And it's used as a laxative, something to purge toxins from your body. And then number 17, vitamin D, of course. Now, I have an older medical book from 1972 where they were using 280,000 international units of vitamin D3 for certain autoimmune conditions. Yes, that's right. And then in the next edition, it went down to like 600 IUs. Personally, I think there's been a lot of suppression of vitamin D, and I think that most people need at least 6,000 to 10,000 IUs on a daily basis just to maintain their vitamin D levels, especially when you understand how important vitamin D is for so many different things. Vitamin D helps bring your mood up. Vitamin D is essential for literally every part of your immune system. Vitamin D helps with lower back pain that can refer into your legs and your pelvis. And vitamin D is essential in women who are pregnant and little babies to prevent all sorts of dental malformations and structural problems too. Number 18, colloidal silver. Now I'm going to make a disclaimer right now because they took down all my videos on colloidal silver. I put them on Rumble. On YouTube, you cannot make any claims about colloidal silver, so I am not making any claims. All I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you what was in this older medical textbook on colloidal silver. I am not recommending it. I'm just the messenger telling you what I read. And you can look it up too. But colloidal silver was used extensively as a topical antibacterial thing to actually clean wounds up. Back then it was used as a natural antibiotic because this was before antibiotics. So of course, this was replaced by antibiotics. And so right now, you can't really talk too much about it, but it was used back then by mainstream medicine. Number 19, activated charcoal. This was used if you had food poisoning, if you had gas, or some type of toxin. And then number 20, niacin. Niacin is vitamin B3. And it's one of the natural things that can lower triglycerides and increase HDL. It has extensive research, a lot of research on improving your lifespan and reducing cardiovascular incidents. Niacin has been also used for certain type of psychiatric problems involving bipolar, schizophrenia, and also providing the precursor for your mitochondria to build NAD. NAD is something to help you produce energy in the mitochondria at a fraction of the cost of some of these other products. Now, because we talked about natural remedies, I have some of my favorite natural remedies in a video that I highly recommend you watch right now, and I'm going to put it up right here. Check it out.